And welcome to today's class on Dotloop 201. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and I'll be taking you through more of the advanced tips and tricks and time savers that come with the Dotloop system. So this will be a little more of a faster paced class for those of you who have been in Dotloop before or utilized it previously. If you're more of a Dotloop beginner, feel free to check out slmtraining.com to check out our Dotloop 101 video, as this class does build on the Dotloop 101 class. So to start off, the best way to get into your Dotloop account is by going to mykw.kw.com, and that is where I am right here. So again, that is mykw.kw.com. And you'll want to go ahead and put in your username and password here to log in to MyKW. Now just heads up, the username is not case sensitive, however your password is. Alright, so let's go ahead and put in our username and password and click login. If you cannot remember your username and password, no worries. I know there's a million passwords for you all to remember. Feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and they can help figure that out for you. And just a heads up, if you ever see this error message right here, this is a common issue that the MyKW system has experienced since an upgrade they did. If you do see that, just go ahead and type in mykw.kw.com again in your top browser, and it will take you directly to the MyKW home screen. Okay, it's just a quick little workaround for that if you ever see that. Now, the easiest way, or the best way to get into your Dotloop account from here is you'll notice on the top center edge control panel here, you have My Transactions. And you'll, of course, want to go ahead and click on where it says Start My Transactions right under that to get to your Dotloop account right away. Now, by doing it this way, it lets you into your Dotloop account without further passwords, so one less password to remember is always a good thing. But of course, you can always go to dotloop.com directly to log into your account. And also, kind of a side note, there is a Dotloop mobile app for your iPhone or Android devices. So if you have an iPad or an Android tablet, it's really great to get the Dotloop app on your tablet so that you can do this on the go with your clients. Alright, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and click on Start My Transactions in this top center edge control panel box to get into my Dotloop account right away. Now, assuming you've been using Dotloop for a little bit, you might have noticed that the Dotloop home screen has recently changed. Okay, I know personally I'm not too crazy about when technology that I've been working with and know how to use all of a sudden changes, right? It gives you a bit of a learning curve there. Well, the good news is that all the navigation is all the same for this new Dotloop home screen. It is just purely the look of the home screen that's changing. So of course, I know you're used to seeing the black and red, right? But everything is basically in the same exact spots, navigation-wise, on your screen here, minus adding a loop, and that's on the top right here. Alright, so I'll be going over a little more of the advanced things that you can do on here, but real quick, let me make sure everyone is looking at this same Dotloop home screen. So if you are looking at what I see on my screen, right, this newer version of the Dotloop home screen, great, hold tight. If you are looking at the original Dotloop home screen that's black and red, okay, I'm going to show you how to get on over to where I am here. And a note on this, if you ever do want to switch back to the old Dotloop home screen, you can absolutely do that by clicking on your initials or your headshot in the top right of your screen in a circle there, and you'll see the option to switch to old Dotloop. So if you really are not crazy about this new Dotloop, you can switch back over to this. Right? However, I'm going to teach class with the new Dotloop home screen. So if you are looking at this on your screen and want to follow along with today's class, you'll notice it does say click here for early access to the new and improved loops page. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. If you could go ahead and click here for early access to the new improved loops page, that'll take you to the new Dotloop home screen where I'll be teaching class from. All right, just to make sure everyone is on the same page, I'm going to go ahead and click here, and that'll take you right on over to the new Dotloop home screen. So you can see how easy it is to change back and forth, depending on which view you prefer. Alright, so in the Dotloop 101 class, I do focus on these icons on the top right, so feel free to check that out. But in today's more advanced class, I do want to touch on some of the features on this line instead. So first of all, you will notice your activity log is right here, and that will be every click within your Dotloop account, showing you anytime someone signs a form, anytime anyone opens a form, you or your clients. Okay, so that'll be for all your loops. And you also have an overarching view of all your notifications. Okay, anytime your signature is required or a notification that your client has signed. Okay, again, that is an overarching view of all of your notifications as well. Now, something I do really like about this new Dotloop homepage is it does give you the search bar right here. Okay, so you are able to search through all your loops very quickly, especially when you start to get a whole bunch of new loops in here. It's best to be able to find your loops right away with this search bar here. Other things to note, this filters option right here. So this is a newer feature, so let's go ahead and click on where it says filters to take a look at that. Okay, so first of all, archived, this top option here. So just a heads up, as you're probably aware, there is no way to actually delete anything in your Dotloop account. You can't delete forms, you can't delete loops, which is good because if you ever lose something, the good news is it's there. You can, however, archive things, and that will clear your loops from your Dotloop homepage. So if you made a practice loop, or let's say an offer fell through and you want to archive the entire loop, you can absolutely do that. And archiving your loops is now as simple as clicking right here. You'll notice at the bottom of each one of your loops, it says archive. So you're able to just go ahead and click on that to archive that right away. Okay, so that'll archive it. And then unarchiving it, of course, you would do the same thing just to switch that back. All right, so that's how easy it is to archive it back and forth. Really great tool to organize your Dotloop home screen. As you get a lot of loops, it gets overwhelming with how many are on your screen. So it helps to archive any that you created in an accident or are no longer using. And of course, you can toggle to hide your archive loops by clicking this right here. Just heads up, if you ever lose a loop, clicking all here will show you all of your loops, including the archive, so that helps bring that up right away. Another section that I would really recommend focusing on is in this loop status section. So right here, you will want to select most statuses, but I would recommend leaving the sold loops unchecked. Right? You can leave unchecked done loops, withdrawn, and terminated. So on a regular basis, you don't need to be looking at these statuses of loops, right? And you just change that status by clicking on this option right here. Okay, so this is all controlled now from the Dotloop homepage view, which is pretty cool. And this all plays a role in organizing your Dotloop home screen. So you can change your loop status just right here. So if you change this loop to sold, for example, then when since I have this unchecked here, once I click apply, it will hide that loop right away. Okay, of course, you can always get back to that by coming in, clicking on the sold option, clicking apply, and it will pull that up right away. Okay, so this is a really handy tool to organizing your loop. Those are the two main sections to pay attention to, this archive section here and the loop status in organizing your Dotloop home screen. So if you made any changes, you will see an apply button right here. If you didn't make any changes, you won't see that, right? So don't be alarmed. But I'm going to go ahead and click apply, and it will toggle my new filters to take away any of my archive loops and any sold or withdrawn loops that I had indicated. Of course, you can also sort your loops on the top right here. Right? You'll notice the sort option. It gives you a whole bunch of different things to sort by. My personal favorite is last updated, which will show you the loop very first that you last updated or your client last updated. So last work was done in that loop. Okay, but of course, there's a whole bunch of different ways to sort that. This down arrow right here will allow you to toggle if you want that to be last updated in ascending or descending order, and same applies with any of these options here. If you select that and then click the down arrow, it will toggle ascending or descending. And last thing before we get into creating a loop and get into the fun of Dotloop, you can change this to a list view as well. So right here you're looking at the grid view. Okay, so it has all your loops and squares now, I would say. But you can change that to a list view if you prefer. So this list icon right here will change that over to a list view. From what I've seen, all the same navigation and features are the same with each view. You are still able to change all of that right here. It's really just a preference on which view you like better. If the list view or the grid view agrees with your eyes better, makes sense in your head, feel free to use whichever one you prefer. So for today's class, I'm going to switch on back to the grid view since that is typically standard, but of course you can see how easy that is to switch back and forth. And let's go ahead and create a practice loop to get working on today's class. So I am going to click Add Loop. It's this big blue button on the top right here. But before I go further, actually just a quick note. On the top left, do make sure that you see Keller Williams Premium on the top left of your Dotloop account. If you do not see Keller Williams Premium there, that means you are not connected to your Market Center and you will not have access to all of your Dotloop forms. Okay, so if you do not see that on the top left of your account, feel free to go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. They can get you connected to your Market Center so you can participate in class right away. All right, so let's go ahead and click Add Loop here on the top right. And there are a few advanced features I'd like to tell you about in the Dotloop 201 class. So first of all, in this first step here, we're naming the loop. So you can name this whatever you would like. 123 Main Street, 123 Practice Loop. It's great to have a practice loop in your account. But you may have wondered, as you've been working on in Dotloop, why it starts suggesting different options under it and what happens if you were to click on one of these suggestions. So let me tell you about that real quickly. It's a really helpful feature. So first of all, in the most basic form of this, if you were to click one of these options here, it will pull all of the information from that property into your loop. Now, not any private information, only the public information. So, for example, like the property address information, any property information that would be considered public information. That will pull into your loop so that it will start auto-filling on every single form you bring into your loop and saving you tons of time. So that is one really great feature. Okay, a second one, a little more complicated, is that right here, so let's say I am the buyer's agent and I am making an offer on this listing right here. Okay, I can tell it's the correct listing because I see the listing agent, I see the MLS number as well. I know this is the correct listing. Now, if you have been using Dotloop in the past and you have received an offer from another agent in Dotloop, you may have noticed that it creates a whole nother loop in your account for that agent's offer, right? So now you have two loops for the same exact offer. One loop that you created and one loop that the agent on the other side sent to you. Very confusing to have more than one loop for the same property in your account. So this method right here gets rid of that two loop situation, which is very frustrating, okay? So if I were to click on this option right here and I were to send an offer to this agent within Dotloop, it would not create a second loop in that agent's Dotloop account. What it would do instead is it would create a new folder within that agent's loop and put that contract in that folder. And the subject or the title of that folder would be something like the property address and then the agent's name submitting that offer. Okay, so again, this avoids that two loop situation you may have experienced and instead just directs all offers into your loop in a new folder. Okay, so it is a really great feature to play around with. So try that out. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and name this 1204 Dotloop Rocks. You will always want to name this the property address if at all possible. Okay, and when you have that entered in, let's go ahead and click Continue on the bottom right here. And it will take you to step 2, which is templates. All right, so in this template section, you can select a loop template from that drop down here. Now this is dependent on your office. Your office staff sets this up for you. So if you don't have any templates, don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong with your account. But if you do have a loop template in here available, you're able to click on this, and what it does is it will pull in all the initial forms that you need to get started on your transaction. So it is a huge time saver if you have these templates. I would highly recommend using those. If not, no worries. To make sure everyone's the same in class, I'm going to leave that unselected and go ahead and click Continue on the bottom right there. All right, photo here, it will put a picture of the house at the very top of your loop. Just a heads up, Dotloop says that if you take the 30 seconds it takes to add a photo here, that the client is 5 times more likely to use you again or refer you out because they think, wow, that agent created a personalized website for me to sign my forms. So let me quickly show you how easy it is to go ahead and add a photo of the home on your loop here. So I would simply click upload a photo, and it will browse my computer. So in theory, you would already have this photo downloaded on your computer. Okay, maybe you got that photo from the MLS, and you would just double click to bring that in. Right? So maybe the buyer is really excited about the new home they're making an offer on, and they see that the picture of the home they're buying on the top of their loop and increases their excitement. So it's a really great thing to do, and you can see how quickly I was able to do that. And now we're going to wrap this up just by clicking done on the bottom right there. All right, and we have created a loop, so you can now simply click on that loop to go in and start working on it. So you can see that's slightly different than the old way of creating a loop. They did add a couple more steps, but I think it makes it a little more straightforward, so hopefully you guys like it. So let's go ahead and click on that new loop to start working on that right away. Now at the top of your screen here, right, you will see the Documents section, and that is of course where you'll be spending most of your time within your loop. It's where you'll be adding forms, preparing those forms, sharing it to your clients so they can electronically sign. Now first of all, let me show you a quick organization tip on creating folders so that you can separate your documents. Okay, your office staff will greatly appreciate separating your documents. It'll make your life easier. There's a whole bunch of forms that go into a single transaction, so separating those into 3 different folders can really help you out. So to rename a folder, first of all, so you will at least have one default folder in there. And to rename that, on the far right here, let's go ahead and click on those 3 drop-down dots on the far right and click Rename. When I do that, it will then give me a cursor that's blinking on the left-hand side, so I can name that listing folder, for example. Once I change the name, once I type in my new folder name, I can either click Enter on my keyboard or just click in the white margin on the left-hand side, and that will make this new folder name stick. And now in your listing folder, it'll be great to add things like the listing agreement, any property disclosures signed by the seller, maybe the square footage, anything that goes into making the listing live. Now to go a step further, now you'll want to click Add Folder on the top right here. Okay. You'll see this new folder will display, and you'll just want to get rid of the word new and change that to Sales Folder, for example. Alright, so I changed that to Sales and either clicked Enter on my keyboard, or you can click in the margin on the left-hand side to make that new name stick. And of course, if you accidentally made a name stick that you didn't want, you can always rename that by clicking on the 3 drop-down dots on the far right and clicking Rename. Now, Sales Folder, that'll be for items like your fully executed contract, fully executed property disclosures, any items that go along with the offer. And last but not least, alright, we can click Add Folder one more time. I just want to finish up this example so you guys have a good example of what kind of folders you would want in your loop for organization. So once I click Add Folder on the top right again, I will change the word New here. Closing folder, our favorite folder. Alright, so of course in the closing folder that would be things like the closing disclosure, the termite letter maybe, anything that goes along with the closing of the home. And as you may have guessed, I can either click Enter on the keyboard or click in the white margin here to make that stick. Now, if you're representing the buyer, of course, you would only have 2 folders in that case, maybe your sales folder and closing folder. But you can use folders however your heart desires, okay? It's great for organization, especially if you receive an offer on your listing and the offer falls through. Okay, so if I had that terminated offer in the sales folder, I would be able to rename that and rename it maybe terminated sales folder and that client's name. And then I would proceed to be able to create a new folder here for that new offer that I get in on this listing. Okay. All right, so that's just an example of how you can use folders. Very helpful. You can use it however you would like to, just some ideas on that. All right, so let's get started on adding forms to your loop. Now, first thing we'll need to do to practice in today's class is we'll need to add an interactive form, a Dotloop document. So to do that, I'm going to click on Add Document to the far right of where it says Listing Folder. Okay, so we're clicking Add Document to the far right of any folder. And I'm going to select this first option. So you'll see it says Add an interactive form by selecting one from templates. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just so we can quickly get an interactive form in our loop so I can show you a little more of the advanced tips on that interactive document. Now from here, you'll see on the left-hand side, you do have a bunch of red form folders going down your screen. Okay, this will be different depending on what office you're in, so this will look different than my screen. Okay, I'm in the Keller Williams Ballantyne area, Market Center Dotloop account. Okay, but depending on your Market Center, your office staff awesomely puts all these forms and form folders on the left-hand side for you. So let's go ahead and select one that you think would have a listing agreement, for example. So I'm selecting the form folder on the left-hand side. I can then use the search option on the very top of my screen to search for whatever name I would like to, whatever the form name is. In this case, I'm going to type in listing, and it will pull up all the forms that have the word listing in their title. Now to select that form name, I'm simply going to click the checkbox to the left of whichever forms I'm trying to bring in. All right, and you can do that to multiple at a time as well. Okay, you'll notice next to the folder name, it does tell you the amount of forms you're bringing in. And I'm going to click Copy. So again, step 1 was selecting the form folder on the left-hand side in red. Step 2 is I'm searching for the form I'm looking for on this top search bar here. And step 3, I am selecting the checkbox to the left of whichever form I would like to bring in. And you guys can bring in any form you would like to practice on this. The concepts will be in general the same. And I can click on Copy on the bottom right here. And that will pull that into my loop. So I can click OK. Now if I lose anyone, please let me know and I'm happy to go over that again. I know this is a little more of the fast-paced class, so I'm happy to review anything over. If you are watching this as a recorded version, feel free to pause the video so you can follow along a little easier as well. That often helps. Now to get into your new form that you brought into your loop, I'm simply going to click on that form name to access that right away. So again, simply click on the form name to pull that form up right away. Now as you get in here, it should pop up this autofill box that you're seeing on my screen. And this autofill box is your best friend. Okay, never click the X to X out of this. We really like this autofill box. And starting at this very important part at the very top here are the roles. All right, so your client will not be able to electronically sign unless you see your client's name in line with seller 1, maybe seller 2, depending on how many clients you have. So if it just says select person, what you'll need to do is click on that option right there where it says select person. And you'll either need to click on their name from this list if that is appearing, or in this case, I'm going to click add person to add my client in right away. All right, so once I click add person, there are 3 main things that you'll need to add in for this client. Their full name, email address, and the role, which is already appearing here. It says seller, so check, that's done. So full name, if you want to go ahead and put in John Smith or your spouse's name, kid's name, okay, whatever name you would like to, maybe your favorite TV character. I'm going to use Tony Stark for any Iron Man fans. And then you'll see you'll want to put in an email address as well for the client. Now, since it's a practice loop, I would highly suggest using a personal email address that you have that's not connected to your Dotloop account. If you use a personal email address, you can see what it looks like when a client receives a document to sign. So you can see it from a client view. But again, you'll want to make sure that you're using an email address that's not connected to your Dotloop account. Okay, of course, just to get by this, you can always put johnsmith@gmail.com, and that'll work too. You can also add in this additional information on the bottom here, and it will autofill onto forms that require that information, like the listing agreement, for example. But real quick, let's talk about this Add to My Team button. All right. If you are taking notes in today's class, this will be one of those noteworthy moments. Please jot down to never click this Add to My Team button if you are adding a client to a loop. Okay, it's super important. It can't be undone. Okay, what this does, if you were to click Add to My Team right here, it would allow this client to see everything in the loop that you can see. And you, of course, don't want that. Okay, the general concept of Dotloop is everything is private in your loop until it is shared. All right, so we do not ever want to click this Add to My Team for your client. Let me talk quickly about when this feature is really useful, though. Okay, if you are co-listing a property with another agent in your office, again, you are on the same side of the transaction, you could add that other agent to the loop, click Add to My Team, and it would add this loop to that other agent's Dotloop account as well. Again, that is only if you're on the same side of the transaction specifically. If you guys are splitting a transaction and working together, it would allow you to collaborate on the loop. Another great time to use that, if you are on a real estate team and you have a team admin, you can add your team admin to every loop. Click Add to My Team, and it will put that loop in your admin's Dotloop account so they can help you out with it. All right, so it's a really great tool, just never for your clients. All right, so let's go ahead and click Add Person on the bottom right here. All right, I'll now see that my client is added next to Seller 1. Okay, and if this client had a spouse, I could add them to Seller 2 as well right here. I would do the same process. Select Person, click Add Person to add them in as well. I can't stress this enough, they will not be able to electronically sign unless you see Seller 1 and their name in line with that. So super important. Same concept with listing agent. If you're pulling up a listing agreement here or it's a form that you'll need to sign, you'll always want to click Select Person and select your name from that list as well. Okay, so make sure your name is assigned as well. It's a very important section. Now, as you scroll down, there is a lot of other property information here that you can put in. Now, if you were to type in any information here, it would autofill this information onto this form and every other form that you bring into your loop moving forward. So it's a huge time saver, especially if you're a newer agent and a little overwhelmed with these forms and knowing where the information goes. This straight up prompts you for the information, and then Dotloop knows where on the form to put that. So let's go ahead and put in just the property information here. So you can see what it looks like when it autofills. Just a quick note, if you were ever wondering what this property search does on the top, okay, you know when we were creating the loop and it popped down some suggestions and I mentioned that gets around the to loop situation, this does the same exact thing. So if you were to put in the property address or MLS number here, it will browse Dotloop to see if you can sync up your loop with the listing agent's loop, for example. Okay, so it avoids the to loop situation and it also auto-populates the public information onto your loop. It's a really handy tool to play around with. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and add in the street number, the street name, some basic information here so you guys can see what it looks like when this auto-populates. Okay, and of course you can continue scrolling down and adding any further information to autofill onto the form. Even if you're an experienced agent and done these forms a million times, it still saves you time not having to hunt for the field on this actual document. So I'm going to go ahead and click autofill on the bottom right here. Okay, and that's an extremely important step. Again, if you do not click autofill on the bottom there, your clients will not be able to electronically sign. Now, I do go over in the Dotloop 101 class in depth how to prepare this form and share it to your clients, so feel free to check that video out on slmtraining.com for more information on that. Just a quick note before we go into a little more advanced tips, you can notice at the bottom of any initial boxes that if you see your client's initials in print here, that means that it is set up correctly for your client to electronically sign. Okay, if it just says seller, they will not be able to electronically sign. You'll want to look for their initials in print specifically for them to electronically sign. Okay, and that all pulls from that autofill box. So let's talk about a little more advanced tips on this form here. So just a quick note, if it doesn't say your client's initials here, it just says seller, you can always bring up that autofill box we're just working on the top center of these options here, okay, where it says autofill. And that will allow you to make sure that your client's role is assigned to seller 1 and seller 2 and so forth. So that's very handy there. All right, let's talk about this add portion right here. So if you, for any reason, have, let's say, 4 or 3 clients that need to sign this document, you can come up to this add field and you can add signatures or initial boxes to this interactive form. It's a newer feature, I want to say, within the past year or so in Dotloop. So that does come in handy here, and we'll go more into that in just a little bit in class. But what I really want to focus on is on this More option. So if you could go ahead and hover your mouse over More on the top black toolbar. Let's talk about host in-person signing. And this is a cool feature. So the general concept of Dotloop, right, is you would type up the entire form. So let's imagine that I already typed up the entire form, right? I added all fields with the verbiage it needs to be. And now I'm ready to send this to my clients to electronically sign. Now typically you would click this Save and Share option on the top right, and it would send this form to your client via email so they can click to electronically sign. Now, but let's say you're sitting next to your client on a listing appointment. You filled out the entire form and, well, they're sitting next to you, so they would rather just sign it right from your computer or your tablet. Well, clicking on More and Host in-Person Signing would allow you to pass your device over to your client so they can electronically sign from your device sitting right next to you. Now, don't do this with me, just watch on my screen here, and I'll tell you why in just a moment here. But when I click on Host in-Person Signing from that More tab, okay, first of all, it's asking if I want to save, so I'll click Yes. But it will give me the option of who I want to electronically sign. So if this is a husband and wife, okay, or 2 parties that need to sign the form, it would show me both of their names where I can click on the client that needs to sign and click Continue. Now the biggest thing that you need to know about this is when you click Continue here, and don't do this right now, when you click Continue, what will happen is it will sign you out of your Dotloop account, and it will sign your client into their new free Dotloop account. So when they go through the signing process and they get done signing and pass the device back over to you, you will be signed out of your Dotloop account and signed into your client's Dotloop account instead. So you will need to sign back in to your Dotloop account specifically if you need to do any further work on that. Okay. This is where practicing these kind of things really comes in handy before doing it in front of clients, so it looks like you know what you're doing and you're not caught off guard by not being in your Dotloop account when they give the device back to you. Okay, so just a heads up on that. When you do host in-person signing, it will sign you out of your Dotloop account and you would have to log back in after your client signs. But really cool feature, highly recommend it. And again, it's as easy as More and host in-person signing. All right, so now that we went over that, let's go ahead and click on the back arrow on the very top left of your screen, okay, next to the document name on this black toolbar here. So we're clicking back on the top left here to get back to your screen here, to your main loop. All right, so let's take a look at other ways that you can get documents into your loop and what else you can do with interactive documents. So first of all, if you could go ahead and click on the 3 drop-down dots, the far right of the document name. Anytime you see those 3 dots, it typically means more options there. So we're going to be focusing on this Make a Copy feature in the next part of class, but let's just go over quickly. I'm going to highlight some of the valuable tools on this list here. Okay, clicking Open here will open the form within your loop here, just like we did by clicking on it. You can rename it like we did with every one of the folders, so you could rename it Fully Executed Offer, for example, okay, to differentiate that. We'll be going over Make a Copy right here in just a moment. History will show you every single click and every time the form was signed, so that can be very handy. Print, okay, the difference between print and download. Download will just pull that out of the system as a PDF so you can save that to your computer. Quick note on that, I would highly recommend downloading any document that you have that's fully executed from your loop onto your computer. Because if a fully signed document, if anyone tries to go to make any changes, it will erase all signatures on that document because it thinks your clients didn't sign for that. So I have unfortunately seen where all signatures get erased accidentally, and that's not fun. All right, so do make sure to download any fully executed documents just so you have a backup on your computer as well. You can archive the form. Just a reminder, there's no deleting anything in Dotloop, but you can archive it. So let's say if you created an offer and it fell through, or it was just a practice, you can archive that to get it out of your loop right away. Okay, I'll just hide it in your loop. And last but not least, this is a pretty cool feature. If for any reason your client or the other agent wants you to fax the document to them, you cannot receive faxes in Dotloop, but you can send faxes, which is pretty cool. So you can come in here and click on fax, and it will fax the document over to whatever number you indicate right away. So pretty cool feature there. But let's talk about this make a copy feature. So this make a copy feature will do two things. First of all, if you ever need to copy a document from one loop to another, this will do that for you. Secondly, what it will do is it can convert an interactive document to a PDF. So what I mean by that is, as you knew on this document we were just working on, it was an interactive document, meaning I could just click to start typing on the form. Right? I could click on any field and just start typing. Now, if you have a fully executed document and you need to just make one change, let's say you put in your client's name as Tony and he goes by Anthony. Okay, so if you just need to make one small change, you can turn that into a PDF and make a change to that document right away. So this comes in use a ton of times, so let's take a look at that, and we'll also be able to practice with PDFs in your Dotloop account. So again, I'm clicking on the three drop-down dots on the far right of the document name, and let's click Make a Copy. Okay, and once I click Make a Copy, you'll notice it gives you two options here. You can copy it as a Dotloop document, so that is a really handy one to use if you're copying it from one loop to another loop. In this case, let's go ahead and change it to Copy as Flat PDF, and this is the part we really like. Signatures are preserved, meaning you can make changes to the documents and it will preserve the signatures. It will not erase any signatures if you make changes. So we like this part. All right, let's go ahead and click To Loop. Now, once I click To Loop, it will browse all the loops that I have in my account here. I can search the loop that I'm looking for, especially if you have a bunch of loops in here like I do. Okay, so you can search for the same loop. So we're searching for the same loop that you already have created. And let's go ahead and click on that loop. That will pull up. So again, you're just searching the same exact loop that you have already created in today's class. And it will show, and you will go ahead and click on that loop and it will show you any folders that you have within that loop. So just to avoid confusion, I'm going to go ahead and click Sales Folder to copy that over to that folder, and go ahead and click Copy. All right, and then it shows me it was successful, so I can click OK to go back to my loop right away. All right, so this is the original form that we have that was interactive, meaning I could just start typing in it. But in this case, let's go ahead and click on where it says under Sales Folder, that other form that we just copied in. And I'll show you the difference between an interactive form and a PDF. Now in this form here, as I pull that up, you'll notice that none of the fields are editable. So I cannot just start clicking. Right? Another time that you'll be working with PDFs in your Dotloop account is when the agent on the other side, let's say that doesn't utilize Dotloop, if they send you an offer, you may get that as a PDF in your emails. Okay, I'll be showing you more on this in just a moment here. But you are able to add the PDF to your Dotloop account and get that electronically signed by your clients. So you'll be using PDFs quite a bit in your Dotloop account, and I'll be explaining this a lot more in just a moment here. But where this make a copy feature comes in handy, all right, let's use our imagination that this form is fully signed, okay, so it has all the signatures, and we just need to make one small change on this document. So I need to change Tony's name, let's say, to Anthony instead. So how I would go about doing that is I would come up to this Add field on the top black toolbar, and you will notice that there are a whole bunch of different options in this Add option since it's a PDF. So in this Add option here, what I'll want to do first is come to Add Strike Through on the very bottom there. It will give me this line. It'll start following my mouse, and I can line that up and click to drop that. Okay, just a heads up, if you are using an iPad or a touchscreen computer, it won't follow your mouse. You'll just need to click to drop the field. Now I can come back up to Add on the top black toolbar. And I can go to Add Text. Okay, so I'm clicking on Add Text. Again, that starts following my mouse where I can click to drop that. And I can put in the full name of my client. Now, as you add the text box, you'll notice it's really small. Right? It doesn't fit much of anything. So you'll need to hover your mouse over that right triangle on the very bottom right of the text box. You'll see your mouse will turn into an arrow, a diagonal arrow, that you can click and then elongate that text box. You can make it as big and wide as you would need to. All right, so of course, especially a fully executed document, you would have to have any changes signed by the client. All right, so to nail that in, we would come up to Add on the top black toolbar one more time. You'll go to Add Initials. It will start following your mouse. So you can line that up wherever you would like it to click that initial box. Now there is one more thing that you'll need to know about this anytime you add an initial box to a PDF. All right. And this same thing goes to if you are adding an initial box anywhere on the form. So again, as I was talking about earlier, if you get a PDF of the offer from the agent on the other side, you can add that to your loop and add initial boxes on the bottom of each page to have that electronically signed by your client. Now, anytime you click to add initials or add signature for that matter, these two fields, they have to be manually assigned to your client. Very, very important. So as you see right here, it just says initial here. Your client will not be able to electronically sign that. It has to be assigned to them. So Dotloop knows the right person is signing that field. So what you would want to do is hover your mouse over the field and click Assign Field. When you do that, it will pop up this drop down right here. So you can click on your client's name from that list. And you will see your client's initials in print display in that box here. Now just a heads up, if I were to print this form, it would be blank. And assuming you've used Dotloop before, you've seen the difference between when a client electronically signs it, right? When a client actually signs it, it's in cursive with a time and date stamp, so it does look very different. Okay, just to make sure you're not alarmed. This is how I'm seeing my client's initials in print here. That is purely indicating to me that I set it up correctly as the agent, so my client will be able to electronically sign. Very important to be able to do that. Just a quick note as well, anytime you click add and add any field, okay, so if I added and I got a little click happy and added that in the middle of the document here, you can absolutely erase any added fields by simply clicking on the field you want to delete and clicking this little X to get rid of that right away. Okay, so just a quick note on that. Okay, so that is the Make a Copy feature, and I have a link to a 10-minute video that focuses on the Make a Copy feature specifically to explain that a little more. So let me send that out. So this is on the Make a Copy feature. That will show you how to copy a form from one loop to another, and also explain in a little more depth and detail how using this Make a Copy field can really come in handy if you're trying to make edits to a fully executed document. Okay, so it really does come in handy really great tool that Dotloop offers. So feel free to check that out. And of course, if you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, and I'd be happy to send you that video directly. All right, so let's dive into some more fun tips here. So for now, if you could go ahead and click on Save on the very top right of your screen if you're following along. Let's go ahead and click back, the back arrow on the top left of your screen, okay, to the left of the form name. It might ask you if you would like to share the document as well, and you can click no for right now. To ask if you want to save, sure, yes, that works. Okay, and let's talk about a couple other ways that you can add documents to your loop. So in the far right of any folder name, let's go ahead and click Add Document. And feel free to just watch on my screen for the next couple examples here, especially if you're watching this live. It's often hard to follow along with the video since it's a little more faster paced. But we went over this first option here, this templates option here, and that's adding interactive forms to your loop. That means you can just start typing into your document right away. Now this browse feature here. Now when you would want to use this feature two different times. So let's say that you are a little old school and you don't want to use electronic signatures and you're not a fan of technology. It is totally okay. You can use Dotloop in a wide capacity of different ways. So if you would prefer to just come into Dotloop, type up the form like we did, and simply go to these three drop-down dots and print off the typed up document, you can then bring it on your appointment and have your clients hand sign the form sitting right next to you. That is absolutely okay. And you might run into clients who aren't a fan of electronic signatures anyway, who don't trust them. So if that's the case and you now are sitting back at your desk and have your forms in your hand signed by your clients, you could then scan the document to your computer and then click Browse right here to browse your computer and pull that in right away. We'll be doing this in just a second. Another time you might need this browse feature, if an agent on the other side, again, who does not use Dotloop, sends you a PDF version of the offer, right, you could then save that to your computer and click Browse to pull that in right away. So let's take a look at how easy that is. So clicking Browse right here, it will, again, browse your computer. All right, so you can go to wherever you have that document saved to double click on that to bring that in right away. Okay, so really handy feature on that, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment here. For anyone who likes technology and you really like to drag and drop, you can also do that. So if you have your files on your computer, you can also drag the file from here. Let's see where I have that offer. There we go. I can simply drag and drop the file right over here right away as well. So if you prefer to drag and drop, you can totally do that. Okay. So two different ways of pulling in files from your computer. And this is a good time to use the archive feature, so I can show you guys that as well. So now that I, let's say, quote unquote, accidentally pulled in the document twice, I can come to these three drop-down dots on the far right to archive one to make that less confusing for me. Okay, and you'll see how that just hides one of them right away, tells me it was archived here. And now just a quick note, it does show me on the top right here that I can click Show Archived to pull up any archived documents. So if you go into your loop and you're in a panic because you don't see the forms that you're looking for, check if it says Show Archived, because that will pull up all the documents in that loop right away. Right? So one quick note I want to show you guys on PDF editing that I haven't showed you quite yet. So let's go ahead and click. If you are following along, I'm going to go ahead and click on that PDF, or you can just watch on my screen here. Alright, so again, I know this is a PDF because I cannot click to start editing the form. Right? So a quick note, a quick cool tool here. When I go to File on the top black toolbar, it does give me the option to, first of all, rotate the document and split the document, these two features. So let's say I let's talk about rotating first. Let's say I scanned in the document and they're all sideways, okay? You can rotate the entire document or just page by page right here, which is a pretty cool tool. And also splitting the document. So if you scanned it in or the agent on the other side sent you, a full package, they sent you the offer along with the property disclosures all as one file, and you like to have those separated, right, to send that off to your clients to sign, you can split the document as well. Okay, and this only applies to PDFs, so you can split the document here into however many pieces you would like. Well, it goes up to, let's see, up to 13 different files. All right, so you can select how many different ways you're splitting the document. So let's say 3 different ways. And then you can name each file a different thing, so the offer, property disclosure, and so forth. And you can tell it which page 1 to 10 is the offer, and and so forth. And page, let's say, 10 to 12 is the residential property disclosure, and so forth. Okay, so it's a pretty cool feature. I've used that quite a bit in the Dotloop account, so feel free to utilize that. Make sure there's nothing more I need to tell you guys about PDF editing. All right, aside from that, if this is the offer that needs to be signed by your client, you can add initial boxes to the bottom of every page here. And of course, that is the same method that I just showed you when we were working on that other PDF, coming up to add and adding initials. Now, if you are working on this and you would have to add that to every single initial field on the bottom of every single page within that offer, which does get a little tedious. So just a quick side note on that, you can hold Shift on your keyboard. So if I were to hold Shift first and then click to drop it, it will keep following my mouse, so I can then continue the process. So I can click Shift and drop the next one. Okay, so just a heads up, if you click Shift on your keyboard first and then click to drop a field, it will allow you to repeat the process and continue adding multiple initial boxes. So it's a pretty handy tool there. And just a reminder, if you are adding fields manually like this, initial fields manually, you will have to assign the field. So I will have to click and come to Assign Field to assign that to my client from here. So just a quick note on that, anytime you manually add initial fields to an offer like this or to any document, you always have to manually assign the field. Again, kind of tedious, but absolutely necessary for them to electronically sign. All right, guys. So hopefully that was helpful in learning how to edit PDFs. You will run into needing to do that quite a bit within your loop, especially since there are a lot of agents that don't use Dotloop. All right, and let's go ahead and click on the back button on the very top left of your form so we can go over one more way of getting forms into your loop. So I'm clicking back on the very top left here. It will ask you if you would like to save. I'll click yes. It may ask you if you want to share. You can click no. All right, so the last main thing that we're going to go over is emailing into Dotloop. And this will be one of those things you'll need to watch on my screen here. So this is a pretty cool feature, probably one of my favorite in Dotloop. And so you can click on Add Document to the far right of where it says Sales Folder or any of your folder names. We went over the first two here, of grabbing those from templates, browsing your computer, and now there's the email option, which is pretty nifty. So you'll notice it says attach the files you need to an email and send them directly into this folder. Okay, a time that you would need to use this is, let's say the agent on the other side, say they work for Allen Tate, they just email you a PDF, attach it to an email, and send that over signed by their clients only. Now you need to get it into your loop so you can put signature fields on that form and send it to your client to sign. So first thing that you'll need to do, and this is the quickest, most efficient way to get a form from your email account into your loop. So step one is I would need to click on email. So we clicked add document and now email, this third box over. When you click on email, it will generate this crazy long email address that is specific to this folder in this loop. So I'm going to click on copy to clipboard. Right, it then tells me that the email was copied. So now I go over to my email account. So right here, I have the email from the other agent with the offer to purchase attached. Okay, so what you would need to do is forward this email to that crazy long email address. Now, if you're using Gmail, your KW Gmail account, you would forward emails by clicking on the 3 drop-down dots on the far right, universal sign for more options as we learned in today's class, and click on forward. Okay, and this is how you'll forward it in Gmail specifically, but whatever email device you use, you'll just need to click forward. In this to field right here, we're going to right click and click paste. And that will paste in that crazy long Dotloop email address. And I can click send. Now, when I click send, Dotloop will ignore all the verbiage in the actual email, and it will send this PDF directly into that loop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click send. When you do that, you will then need to go back over to your Dotloop account, and it will not just automatically appear. So first of all, it takes about 20-30 seconds to actually come to your loop, but you will need to refresh your page in order to see that in your loop. So if you're not familiar with how to refresh your page, that is just the arrow in a circle. It's typically on the top left of your browser next to the back button. Again, that's the arrow in a circle here, and that will refresh your page. And when you do that, voila, it will show you the emailed offer to purchase right in your loop. Okay, so that is the quickest way to get any PDFs from your email account directly into your loop. I know that was a bunch of steps and explained a little quickly, so let me go ahead. I do have a video on that as well. There's actually 2 different ways that you can email into Dotloop. So let me show you how to do that. So it's just a short 10-minute video that will go over the process that you just saw emailing into your loop, and also one other way that you can email into Dotloop that is pretty cool as well. So feel free to check out that video. Alright guys, and the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about in this class, I have a short video on this as well that I'll send you. I just want to show you that the feature is available to you and very handy, and then I'm going to send you a video on how to do it because it does take a little bit of time. But if you have an interactive form in your loop still, if you were following along with me, you can go ahead and click on that interactive form to bring that back up. And remember what I mean by interactive form, okay, that means a Dotloop document that I can click to just start typing in right away, right? I can click and start typing. So you can see a big difference between PDFs and interactive forms like this. Alright, so sorry, let me show you one other way. I apologize. Let me show you one other way that you can go about doing this. So what I'm about to show you is that you can create form templates in your Dotloop account. So let's say a listing agreement, for example. A lot of the same information goes on every single listing agreement, like all your office information, all your information. Maybe you usually try and do the same commission rate. You know, the effective date is usually when it goes live, or versus the marketing date, right? A lot of the information will stand the same on every listing agreement. So wouldn't it be nice if you had a template of that listing agreement that had most of the information filled in, and then you just had to add or change any information that applied to that new property? Well, Dotloop does allow that, and this is a really huge time saver, and I'll send you a video on how to do this, but let me show you where to go to get started on that. And then I'll let you enjoy your Friday Eve. So let's go ahead and click on templates on the top right of your screen here. So the templates icon looks like 2 sheets of paper on the very top right. All right, and this is where all your blank forms sit. All right, the Dotloop 101 video at the beginning of that goes over how to print out blank documents from here if you want to check that out. But in the more advanced class, let me show you real quick how you can create your own folder and create, let's say, listing agreement templates or templates of other forms to help save you a huge amount of time. It's probably the biggest time saver in Dotloop. So from templates on the very top right of your screen, again, that icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper, you can click on New Folder. All right, so we can create a new folder. Let me delete the one I had from another class here. Okay, so I can come up to New Folder here, and I can name that Leah's listing documents. So I know that these are my documents that I'm creating. Okay, of course, go with your name. And you can click Create Folder. All right, so Leah's listing documents. So I now have that new folder name on the left-hand side. So now it will allow me to add in documents here from either my templates or browsing my computer. So in this case, I'm going to select this templates icon, or this templates box. Okay, again, templates means that it's an interactive form that I can simply start typing in. Now from here, in this example, I'm going to pull in a listing agreement. Of course, you can do this with any form that you would like to create a template with. Whatever forms, I find it works is most beneficial for listing agreements, buyer agency agreements, and so forth. Use your imagination on this. So I'm going to click the checkbox, same exact process to bringing a form into a loop. I would click the folder on the left-hand side in red that form sits in. I use the search bar on the top of my screen here, and then I click the checkbox to the left of whatever form I want to bring in, and click Copy. All right, it confirms that that has been successfully imported, so I can click OK. All right, so I now have this listing agreement that's in my Leah's listing documents folder. So now what I can do is I can simply click on that form name, to open that up, and I can start adding information that applies to most every single listing agreement that I work in. So let's say Keller Williams Valentine area, Keller Williams Realty, my brokerage name would go on every single form, right? Let's say that you put an A in certain fields, okay, or you check certain fields. You can go through and fill in all the information that applies to most listing agreements, for example, like your commission rate, okay, your contact information. And again, this can all be changed once you bring it into your loop, but you're just trying to fill in all the information that goes on most of your listing agreements. Once you finish that, so once you go through and fill in, again, all the information that goes on most of your listing agreements, you can come up to File on the top black toolbar and click Save as Template. Okay, lastly, if you'd like to save that, and it will save it into your folder right here. Okay, you can click which folder you would like to save that into. So now moving forward, every time that you go to bring in a new document into your loop, you can select your Leah's listing documents, okay, the folder that you created, and bring in that template instead into your loop right away, okay? So you'll be able to save a huge amount of time adding in the template that we just created that has a lot of the information already pre-filled in there. Right? You can even add it from here, so I could then click Add to Loop to add that into the loop right away. Now I know that was just a brief overview on how to do that, so hopefully that'll get you started, but I do have form templates. I have a video on that, another 10-minute video, so you guys can watch that and focus on that. That's one of the coolest things that Dotloop does provide, so I would highly suggest checking that out. So how to set up form templates. So there's that, and also last but not least, I also have notes on today's class and a Dotloop 101 and Dotloop 201 class. So here are those Dotloop notes if you would like that written out as well. I know sometimes I like to have instructions written out, so feel free to check that out. If you're watching this class recorded, again, feel free to email me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention to my name, which is Leah. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have and send those videos and notes directly over to you. All right, guys, let me know if you have questions. These are a little more of the advanced tips, so practice around with them. Let me know how you like them, and please let me know if I can help you in any way. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and happy looping.